We're going to name it Intermission, which is, in my opinion, the most important scene. A lot of people think your gameplay scene is the most important one. It's probably showing the most. But in reality, when you have your gameplay scene up, they're there to watch your gameplay and see you in the corner. And your intermission screen is when you're interacting with your audience, where it's about the actual engagement. So I think this is the one that you should spend the most time on. Now you can see I can click back and forth. The intermission scene is empty because we haven't set anything up yet. But when you click on one, it changes scenes. Now let's do one thing first. The most important part of an intermission screen is the camera. So we're going to go back to video capture device.
Oh yeah, I need to put my capture on here.
Which ones you've already made. So instead of making a whole new source, you can add an existing source, and here's our webcam. Just like that, we have our web full screen for our intermission. And if I click back and forth, you see how it works. One thing I'm not crazy about is this crossfade transition. I want to do something really cool. So let's move over here to scene transitions. And right now it's set to fade with 300 millisecond duration. And you can see if I change this to 1,000, see how slow that is? If I change it to 100, super fast. So we're going to add a new transition in here. And you can see there are a handful of options. If you want to do a swipe one, swipe left, you can preview it here. I hate those. I think they're terrible. Very few people should use them. Let's add a stinger transition. Stinger transitions are the ones with custom animations. These can be fantastic tools for your stream. They're one of the elements that makes your stream look like you put a lot of effort into it. I would even say they're one of the few times that you can kind of go overboard and do something over the top and people will still enjoy it. Here's the fiber transition. I don't remember what it looked like. Oh, there's this one. That's right. I remember now. So you can see if I hit preview transition, it shows me two scenes. But you can see that it transitions from one scene to the next before the animation goes. So what you do is you can set a transition point in milliseconds. Let's set it at half a second. Oh, you can see the transition right before the doors close. 650 milliseconds.
Yeah, I gotta set this game up real quick.
There we go. This isn't my favorite transition I've ever seen. It's way too long, but it works. One other thing that's important, I don't know why the audio fade style is set to this. I like using mine as a crossfade so that my audio, my voice is always there while the transition is happening. And now, we've got two scenes in our transition. And by the way, if you want a little trade secret about transitions here, you can have a different transition per scene. If I right-click on gameplay scene here, go to transition override, I can actually set the different transition specifically for when I transition to the gameplay scene. So for example, if I want a different transition for each scene, I can go and I can make one individual with a plus button over here, name it properly, and then set it as a transition. Okay, secret override. Start talking at full volume again. I hope my microphone even picks me up.
Go to my thing and see what you can see on my YouTube.
That you should be aware of here is the audio mixer, which is pretty straightforward. Most of the time when you add a source, like for example, what it's picking up here is the cam link. It's actually hearing the microphone on the camera here. When you add a source that also has audio with it, it's going to add it to your audio mixer right here. But, for example, display capture, capturing your display doesn't add your gameplay sound into it. And right now, we wouldn't hear any audio from the computer at all. So no gameplay audio, no music, no anything. There are two ways to add audio sources manually to your stream. One of them is to add an audio capture device. So because our gameplay would be computer audio that's outputted to our headphones.
Does it show my screen?
Output capture, call it
Or just me?
Audio. And I would pretty much grab like my headphones or whatever your audio is actually coming out
of.
which for me would be like OSLR.
I just was wondering if they could see my screen yet, but I think I gotta set it up for them to see my screen. Why, to see what they see?
Hear my webcam right here, and also the gameplay audio. The other way to do audio is one we're going to get into in a second because it's inside the settings, and honestly, it's kind of a preferable way to do it. I'll do it in just a second. But an important trick about mixing audio with these faders that not a lot of people know. You'll notice that it goes from 0 at the top down to negative infinity. That's just how the decibel scale works. Now, the decibel scale is a logarithmic. And the way it works is that 6 dB is correct either half or double the audio. So, for example, Wacky is just way too loud, and I want to cut the volume down in half. go down to -6. Now he'll be half long. If I want to cut him in half again, go to -12. Let's say I had him at -3, and I want to cut him in half. I'll bring it down to -9, and that will be exactly half the volume. The webcam volume, I don't want to capture my camera microphone. That's going to sound terrible. So I'm going to mute it. I'm going to click this little gear, and I'm going to hit hide. And now it just cleans it right off. So let's finish this off. Let's jump into the last area that you need to know at least the basics of, and that is the settings. There are a lot of settings to go through, and I know it's a lot, but honestly, like 90 to 95% of the settings, I actually haven't changed. Most of them are just fine in the default settings. So let me go over the ones that you need to be aware of and how to change them. For the most part, you don't need to touch much in general. Let's go to stream. This is where you tell OBS where you're sending your stream to. So, for example,
Okay, I'm on full screen mode.
go on your Twitch settings and grab your stream key.
So I should be going to my game.
Actually sign into your Twitch account, which is actually integrated into OBS, and that's the way I do. I would recommend it. Just like OBS does. Cool. Output. This is an important one. This is where you adjust the quality of your stream. This is also where you can fix a lot of problems if you're dropping frames. I would recommend going to advanced and give you a handful more options, and then only worry about the streaming tab. That's all we're going to talk about. There are 3 things in here that you should be aware of first. One is the encoder. Are you going to use your CPU with X264, or are you going to use NVIDIA's NVENC encoder built into the GPU if you have an NVIDIA graphics card? Sharing your CPU between encoding encoder chip that's on your GPU. The next one that's important is the bit rate. This is the file size that you are sending to Twitch. The larger the file size, the better it looks. 6,000 is the maximum Twitch recommends. However, before I got transcoding options, I set this to 4,500 because this also explains the file size that your viewers are going to be watching if you don't have transcoding. And I found that bringing it down to 4,500 made it a little bit easier for my viewers with bad internet. And then you got your encoder preset here. If you're on NVENC, max quality is great. If you're on X264, medium is what you are kind of aiming for.
Hang on, bro.
With X264, the faster it is, the worse it looks, and the easier it is on your PC. So if you're set to medium, but you're dropping encoder frames, switch it to fast. You lose a little bit of quality, but you're not going to be dropping. Anything above medium is kind of overkill, and at that point you're adding a huge load to your PC with very negligible differences. Unless you have like a Threadripper PC, it's just not even worth it. Okay, audio. Now this is a better place for you to grab audio inputs. This little devices section is really the only section you need to worry about here. Now you have 2 desktop inputs and 2 mic inputs. Your desktop sources are outputs, things that happen inside your computer that
It ain't showing my game yet.
So, for example, your gameplay will be in here, exactly what we were looking at before. For me, it would be system audio. Or if you have separate outputs and you're using voice meter or something like that, you want to grab your music separately.
Okay.
That would be there also. And you can see when I hit apply, we've got 2 brand new sources that we'll rename number 2. And the real advantage of this
Alright.
is now you can have an audio source that's not filling up your sources over here. Just kind of keep things a little bit. Your mic inputs, however, are external devices that are going into your computer.
Exit this.
Or if you're streaming your console gameplay and you've got your console going into a capture card, your capture card would be another thing you would find in here. However, you're probably grabbing your capture card in sources, so you don't really need to add it in again. Video is quick and simple, but it's important that you understand your base canvas is the resolution.